I don't know.
We good?
I'm a little busy right now.
No. We're good? Okay. There we go. So,
We're doing the thing.
good evening. Welcome to the monthly school board meeting. Today is Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. We're meeting on a Tuesday because of the holiday. We normally meet Monday night. And I'm calling the meeting to order. Before we get into the agenda, I just have one thing I'd like to pass on to let everybody know that on Thursday at 6 o'clock here in this room, we will have an information session for anyone who is interested or is thinking about running for one of the school board seats that is up for election. This is a zone election this year, so we will be electing someone from zone I guess, what are they, A, B, and C?
A, B, and C. Mm-hmm.
A, B, and C. Zone A being wards 1 through 4, B being 5, 6, or 7, and C being 8, 9, and 10. There'll be some of us who are on the board here on Thursday night to answer any questions and to tell you just how little time we actually spend working on things or how much. Always a joke because people, that's the first question they ask is, so how much time do you have to put in? So, but we certainly encourage anyone who's interested to come and talk with us on Thursday evening. So with that little public service announcement, we will move on to a call to order and the roll. Ms. Hastings, will you call our attendance?
Yes, Mr. Richards.
Here.
Ms. Walsh.
Here.
Ms. Higgins. Mr. Weinberg.
Here.
Mr. Cotton.
Here.
Ms. Robinson.
Here.
Ms. Meeker.
Here.
Mr. Croto.
Here.
And I am here.
Very good. And Ms. Higgins notified me earlier that she would not be able to attend due to another commitment. And moving on to item number 2, approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any modifications, changes, or additions to our agenda? Mr. Cotton.
I just note on item number 8A, it's a little confusing. We've got public hearing dates on 26th and 27th for the middle school project at 6 p.m., but then right below it, it says 5:30 p.m. It's not entirely clear that one of those hearings is going to be in person and the other one is going to be by Zoom. So I would just like to try to clarify that.
Most certainly, we can clarify it right now. When we can once again cover that. Superintendent, do you want to clarify whether it's 6 or 5:30? And please tell everybody which one is at.
At 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are at 6. And the first one is a face-to-face, in person, at Millbrook School. And the second is the virtual one, which we included the link for Zoom so that people can jump on. Both of them begin at 6 o'clock, and the first one is in person and the second is virtual.
Thank you.
Sorry for that confusion.
So the second one that has the link will be on the 27th at 6 p.m.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
We have another notice going out just to remind folks about the meeting so that we'll keep reminding them right up until the 26th of September.
Very good.
So with that clarification, I'll move approval of the agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Walsh. Is there any discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The agenda is approved as presented. Item number 3 is our consent agenda. The consent agenda, I hope everyone has had an opportunity to read through, including our monthly meeting from August, the capital facilities meeting of August 2nd, the special board work session of the 14th, the city and community relations meeting of the 21st, the instructional committee meeting of August 28th, and finally the finance committee meeting of August 30th. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Weinberg. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Croto. Any discussions? In that case, then all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The consent agenda is approved. With that, we will move on to item 4, which is the Concord TV report. Mr. Hardy, will you be presenting that today?
No, that's not me. Yeah.
Welcome. It's good to see you again, Josh.
Thanks, everybody. I think last time I did this was we were all in the auditorium, or some of you were, if you recall, and I was actually recording them and live streaming from the auditorium and then ran up front to talk to you. So I'm glad that my colleague Matt is there running the cameras. So glad to be speaking with all of you. Matt Cashman has agreed to be my slide person. So next slide, Matt. Oh, look at the little animation there. Perfect. All right, next slide.
Yes.
So Concord TV, just as a recap for the school board and the public, we are a nonprofit community media center. We create programming, provide public access to resources, and foster transparency in local government. We have 3 branches, and I try to make sure people understand this, that our nonprofit oversees education access, government access, public access. So everything we do fits into one of those 3 buckets. So of course, Concord School District fits into that education bucket. So just sort of a bullet list of some of the things that we do on the educational side of things is we have our education access channel, which I'll tell you about. We help with the CHS Live morning announcements. We provide general event coverage video, communications support for the district. As with tonight's meeting, we do live streaming of the school board meetings, and we also provide support. I'm on the advisory board for the CRTC Film and Theater program, and we work with Clint Close in that program pretty closely. First up, the education channel, which provides 24/7 Concord School District programming on Comcast Channel 6, Breezeline Channel 2001, that is a new HD channel, by the way, and streaming at yourconcordtv.org. The cable channels are Concord residents only. I've had reports, people have told me in like Pembroke and Bow and some surrounding towns, they may get the education channel. They're not supposed to. Report them to the authorities immediately. But in all seriousness, I think Comcast sometimes has a hard time, they cut off by certain streets maybe. So education channel, we'll move on from that. CHS Live, that's actually a screenshot from this morning's show. We went live with the morning announcements today. It's entirely student run. Concord TV serves as the tech advisors. Okay, you're just trying to, you might get feedback from this microphone though. That's the only problem with that. So Matt, just turn that down if it gets a little too much. So that's a screenshot from this morning. So there's a couple of our hosts on the bottom of the screen. And this year's advisors are Kylie Chalaskis and Becky Del Barone. Am I saying her last name correctly? That she's been fantastic. Kylie has been terrific. And we do that 5 days a week, which is great. One of the other things with CHS Live is that we consider that a no-cut club. So anyone who wants to be involved from the high school can be involved. Whether it's through a club or just an individual, they just talk to the faculty advisors about what their segment will be, or if they want to run a camera or run our teleprompter or help set up microphones. And last year we had upwards of probably 60 kids involved, whether they were just once a week or every day. And we have a lot of returning kids this year. So it wasn't just seniors, we had freshmen who will be involved all 4 years, potentially. For event coverage, we cover things like the high school graduation, which was indoors, as you all recall, this year. And we collaborated to make a video about 9th grade orientation at the high school. And so when we get ideas, whether it's from administration or faculty, we'll take those ideas and make video programming out of it. Looking at Matt, because we also have worked with Matt Cashman before on facilities videos too. So, all right, next slide. Communications support that we, especially during COVID, but really anytime, we're pretty much consider ourselves 24/7 available to provide communication support for the school district, whether it's for the high school or for here at central office. And we do think that with the upcoming communications director position that will be a really nice partnership. We currently work with the City of Concord Public Information Officer and have sort of a system down for that type of partnership. So we're excited for that potential too. Concord School Board, that is a screenshot from May. Don't worry, I didn't put the meeting into the presentation from tonight. But what I love about that screenshot is that was from, I believe it was Distinguished Educators. So I love that the school board does recognitions of community members like that. Again, school board, the live coverage. So right now we're live on Channel 6 on Comcast, Breezeline 2001, and the Concord School District YouTube, which this has only been around for about 2 years, the YouTube component. So I think you should definitely try to make sure your constituents are aware of that members of the public know. That has been super popular. We've seen viewership go up as people learn that this exists, because you can watch the live stream, you could go back and rewatch, you could look for a specific segment. When I see the agenda goes up, I actually put it in the description so people get a good sense without having to go to the SAU 8 site even. They can watch the video and see the agenda and sort of get an idea of, so if they want to skip Concord TV's presentation, they can just jump right past that if they want to, right? And then just here's a look at the YouTube, what the public sees, that upcoming and recent live streams show up as thumbnails, and I've also organized them into playlists based on committees. So the monthly meeting, there's a playlist of just the monthly meetings. Same thing with capital facilities, communications, you name it. And I don't believe the closed captioning has been available live, but for people rewatching the YouTube streams, there is closed captioning. And so far we've had good feedback. It's easy to navigate for people trying to take minutes or just go back to something. It's been popular. We just want more people to know it's a resource for public information. One of our other roles, providing learning opportunities for not just high school students, but college students, middle school students. They can do job shadowing. We can do extended learning opportunities. We can do internships. That's a picture of a couple of kids who went through a script writing program, and that was their own original screenplay that they developed, which was pretty cool. We try to prioritize it for Concord High School and Concord School District, but we have had kids from Bow, especially with our summer programming, but we find the best opportunities are right here in our school district. And just a quick note about funding, that we currently receive $260,000 per year from the City of Concord's portion of the cable franchise fees that comes in. That agreement goes through 2025, and then we'll relook at the numbers and how that all works. As a 501c3 nonprofit, we can also raise money through contributions, grants, program fees, and sponsorships and underwriting. And then we also have our space at Concord High School, thanks to the Concord School District, which helps make these collaborations much easier, and we're very thankful. Next, that's it. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, our YouTube channel has become very popular as well. That's Concord TV's YouTube, in addition to the school district YouTube. I can answer questions or let you move on with the rest of your meeting, but thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Josh?
Or complaints, suggestions,
Oh my gosh.
it's all welcome.
Go ahead, Mr. Cotton.
I just can't thank you enough for all the time that you sat here with us. I mean, it's not always the most interesting thing, but I think it's a great service to the city, and I really appreciate you and your team putting in all the work you do. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate
Here,
it.
here.
And I think everyone here will echo that. We have someone in there virtually every meeting we have.
Yep.
In the snow and in the heat. So thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Weinberg.
Thank you, Josh. And do you have a sense, because you've been here now for a little bit, pre-pandemic to now, how the metrics online have changed since things have gone more online and virtual?
That is a great question. In terms of, do I see a difference between, like, since 2020, I would say yes, but only because we continue to remind people and
grow.
push out there, hey, this is where you can find our content. Whether it's related to anything, I'm not sure. But I think half the battle is just reminding people the meetings are there. Sometimes people think some of these things are like a well-kept secret, and they're not. It's out there, right? The information is right there in front of people sometimes. the problem with digital media is you're being just bombarded from a million different platforms and content creators. So we are just trying to push through that. But I would say every year, Concord TV's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, the school district YouTube, viewership goes up and up and up,
Awesome.
which is a good sign.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Well, Josh, thank you for, the YouTube channel, which now makes it possible to binge watch all of our meetings back
Tune
to
in
back
for
to
next
back.
season. This is the season premiere.
Yeah. And if you are someone who binge watches all the meetings, there will be a meeting on Thursday that you can run for the school board.
There you go. Yeah.
We're casting.
But I appreciate it. I know that each and every one of us have gone back and taken a look at various committee meetings, meetings that we've missed, and it's always very useful. And I know I hear from a lot of our community that they appreciate it very much to be able to keep abreast of what's going on with the school district. And I know you do the same thing with the city. And I also have direct experience from my sons with the summer program. So
Good.
Nice work. Thank you.
Good. Thanks so much.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Croto.
And thanks-
Josh, I
thanks
just
to
gotta
Matt.
say that it wouldn't be a year without watching the election coverage that you guys do.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's part of that community feeling when you get local election results right away.
Yeah, and it's one of the few places you can get that
Yep,
truly
very
just
one of
local
the few.
coverage.
Yep.
We are going to have quite a bit with local election coverage as well. Opportunities for local candidates, so school board certainly is part of that. So we're looking forward to that again this year. So tune in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
very much. So with that, we go over to recognitions and reports. Superintendent, do you want to lead off, or do you want our students? Or are we waiting for Sophia?
Sophia is going to be delayed tonight in arriving at the meeting. As you know, our high school students are always so busy, but we have our new representative from the high school, MacIver, and he's here for the first time, so I don't want to put any pressure on him, but he is prepared and he would like to share some thoughts with you today.
Great. Van, welcome. Before you jump into I know what you've prepared. You want to say hi and tell us a little about yourself and
Yeah. Good
let us know.
afternoon, everybody. I'm Van. If you already know, I'm a Concord High School student. But along with that, I also am a CRTC student. I take health science at the school. And I also am on 3 sports teams. I'm part of the football, basketball, and track teams at Concord High School. And when I'm not doing those things, I like to go to the gym, hang out with my friends and family. I like spending time with my dogs and going kayaking. And I also have a job at the YMCA as a camp counselor and childcare.
Thank you, Van.
Do you ever sleep, Vin?
Yeah, I was going to say, as you said, Superintendent, they're very busy. So, great. Well, welcome. We look forward to
Thank
your
you.
contributions. And, whenever you want to jump into a conversation, just do it. Don't, well, look at me and I'll give you a high sign. But we always enjoy hearing the perspective of our high school students. So please don't be shy.
Or we might ask you a question on the spot.
Occasionally we do that.
Jonathan, you're really good at that, actually.
And if you don't want to, if you don't have the answer, or you don't want to answer Jonathan's question, then you don't have to. So with that, we'll let you proceed.
Okay, so as we're all excited for the school year, CHS has lots going on right now. We already had class assemblies the first 2 days of school. Freshmen and sophomores had theirs on the first day, and then juniors and seniors, we had it on Thursday, sorry. And we learned about our new administration with their new roles, because we have 4 commons now. We moved from 3 last year. And one of the big things this year is the implication of Crimson culture, which is where gotta demonstrate the values of the school, which is a big new thing on our report cards. And we also are going to have win days every Friday on a 5-day week, which stands for What I Need. So during that period, I think it's 45 minutes. You get to go to any teacher you want to go that you need help with in their class. So if you're behind in math, you can go to your math class to get some extra help. And another big thing coming up, September 30th, we have homecoming, where we have our parade, we have the football game against Pickerton, and we have the dance at the night. And the day before that, we're having a pep rally to walk in our seniors in the class of 2024.
Very good. You think the new administration is going to be pretty successful?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good. I do too. Thank you. Well, great.
Dr. Hebert after for your.
Well, thank you very much. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing from you and seeing you every month. Does anybody have any questions for Van?
Are you gonna win the football game?
Hopefully.
That's the goal.
All right, very good. Superintendent?
Oh, thanks. I always say it's hard to follow students, but I will share what's been going on in the district for the last couple of weeks. And, we started out back in the week of August 21st having our new teachers in a workshop with them for 2 days. Mrs. Yarlott facilitated that along with Tom Crumine, really updating them on all the departments of the school district, reviewing policy, getting some training around some of the essential items, meeting staff. I think they appreciated having 2 board members there. Certainly the perspective from the board members as well as each of their roles. Pam isn't just a board member, she's a mom, and Brenda brings her teaching background, so they appreciated that, and it's always a nice touch. They enjoyed it. They did spend some time on one afternoon, right around lunchtime, I guess, to have an ice cream social with the Teachers Association, so I haven't talked to Mike to see how that went, but all reports was it was well received. They also had a chance to get their mentors, which, as you know, is really important. Brand new to the district, there's so much that goes on every day, and it can be overwhelming at times. And so they all were assigned and met their mentors, and so I think that was a great kickoff. And so far, so good. We'll get out there and visit them as they acclimate themselves into the new building, into their buildings. Then we also that same week, we had a full day of training for our principals. One of our goals this year was to look at the teacher performance review system that we have. What does it look like? How is it used? What happens at one school? How does it happen at another school? So we had a speaker in, spent the day with us. That a consultant is coming back. We're actually going to be working to calibrate all of our observations by doing live observations and visiting classrooms and giving teachers feedback. They've agreed to that. It's not like a surprise. But it's a good way for our principals to share their thinking about observations when they're giving teacher feedback. So that started on the week of the 21st, full day for our principals. I thought it was very well done, and the principals really appreciated it. Actually, the whole administrative team, it was assistant principals and anyone who had supervisory responsibilities. So it went over well. The second week, which as we got closer to school, of course, we had the 2 days opening for our entire staff, which was really a good day. They had Monday where they pretty much worked in the buildings. We did that on purpose this year because we wanted our ed associates and tutors to be with us on the second day, and as part of their contract, they come in the second day. So on the second day, we kicked it off at Memorial Field with our high school band, who came down and played for us, and then had an opportunity to have some award winners. Matt Feeney from Millbrook was given the Bob Silver Award for his work, and his really commitment to the community was incredible. We also had a reading from a student who was the Silver Award winner around patriotism, and she did a great job. She's a student from Krista McAuliffe, right, 5th grader. She's now in 6th grader at Runlet. So again, it was a terrific event. I love the fact that the food service department had a nice table set up with coffee and some parfait and some breakfast sandwich for everybody. So I think the staff really appreciated that extra treat. Well, they got a lot of kudos about that, so that was kind of nice. It was a fun morning. Of course, then they returned to their schools for all of the things that happened to prepare. Kim did get, and I got some good feedback from teachers that they really appreciated the time. We set 2 hours on each day as part of their contract, 2 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Tuesday, specifically for them to spend time in their classrooms. They really appreciated it. Something else happened. Our speaker for the day, and it was not the whole day that he was speaking, but sections of the day. Well, he got hung up in Dallas, Texas. Was it Dallas? Couldn't get out of Texas. So he was not able to make it. So that gave the teachers a little bit more time to spend in their classrooms working with their, with their teammates. So that went over very well. I was very pleased.
We're gonna let Sophia, after I finish, can we go back to Sophia?
Of course we
I'm
can.
sure did you have practice? Yeah, okay. So anyway, those 2 days were great. And then, of course, the big opening on the 30th went very well. All reports from our principals, they were very pleased with the 2 days. The buses ran well. Of course, there were some delays, especially at Runlet. When you think about Runlet, they're the last stop on the runs, right? Everything can get backed up. Think about first graders and second graders. I even saw some older kids having their pictures taken at bus stops, getting on the bus, all of those things that happen as the traditions of coming back to school for the first time after a summer. Somewhat delays, and if you watch little kindergarten kids get on the bus and go up those stairs, it's not like they don't hop up and skip up. So there was some reluctance on some, but reports are there weren't too many tears, so we were happy about that. But I have to say that our principals were very well prepared. All the reports back to us at the office indicated that things went very well, and I attribute that to good organization, good leadership, and preparation to have all the youngsters come back in. So awesome 2 days. We're 99% fully staffed with teachers. We have one opening. It was a late resignation, a very late resignation. But all of our positions, we had, I have an interview on Friday for that one last math position at Runlet, so I think we're good to go with that. So I'm pretty pleased about that. We still have some vacancies with tutors and with Ed Associates, but Michelle reports to me this morning that we've had a lot of people come in. Our event at Keach Park, by the way, yielded some. Matt tells me he yielded some. We got a bus driver from our tables set up, and we also did an event at the Y, so we were able to do some real recruiting, and we were able to hire some folks to fill some of those vacancies. School bus drivers, I say this with somebody, knock on wood, but right now we have our buses going full when we have drivers, so, and some being trained, which is huge for us. And again, I really appreciate all the work that the departments did. Michelle and her department in HR were fingerprinting till there was no more ink left, basically. I mean, they were relentless to get everyone in. For some reason, it all just happens at the end. Well, I don't know where they were the last 8 weeks, but hey, that's the way it works. And even this week, Matthew tells me this morning that he had 2 interviews this week for a custodial position. So he'll fill you in on that in a minute. But I think we're in good shape for staff. I'm pretty pleased about that. Our 2 new principals this week, I've talked to them every day, and I think they have had a great 3 days now. At least that's what they're reporting to me, right? But both of them have shared that they felt it was successful and just love the work and appreciate all the things that the responsibilities they have, but it went very well for them too, and that was really important. Those were big transitions for us at the high school as well as at the middle school, so I'm pleased with that. Let me just make sure I've covered everything. So back to this week, and I chuckled because Murphy's Law played into place this yesterday. I guess it started yesterday when the reports about the weather. So I can't not speak to the weather issue. And we were very careful. We watched the forecasts and the temperatures, and we were in constant communication with the folks over at the schools. Last night I sent out a Parent Square message to parents, just letting them know what was in place. So we opened up the building windows at high school during the night, because we have a third shift. At the middle school, Nadia, our head custodian, was there at 5:30, opening windows, getting that cool air, because it was like 60. I drove in this morning, it was 68 degrees in Concord. So we knew that we had that cool air to get in. But as you know, it heats up. I mean, these are brick buildings. They're like little ovens, right? But Matt and his team brought in extra water, so we had water bubblers placed throughout the building, especially the building at Runlet and at the high school where the temperatures can really rise in certain areas. So we advise parents to make sure the youngsters dress lightly, but even still, some of our middle schoolers still had sweatshirts on, but God love them. We did advise them to dress slightly. I met throughout the morning with Steve Mello. We did cancel our soccer game in Nashua this afternoon. We also canceled the cross-country meet that was our first meet here, which we do over at NHTI. We canceled that. Felt that was a lot to ask this afternoon, 3 or 4 o'clock. They did hold tryouts at Runlet for the teams, but that's pretty low key. That's not like it's like in the middle of a game. And they also had very light practices at the high school, as evidenced by our 2 students who came in, both of them from practice. So, but the coaches kept it light, and obviously plenty of water breaks and all of that. So, it is what it is. I don't know where this 90-degree weather was, beach weather, back in July and August when it was cloudy and no sun and in the 70s, but as it plays out, it came to us this week. So we will continue to monitor that, making sure kids stay hydrated. There are sections in every building that there's air conditioning. Our libraries, nurses' areas, things like that, there is air conditioning. Of course, our 3 newest elementary schools are in good places because of the dehumidification in the HVAC systems in those schools. But I also know that you are looking towards doing that and taking care of Broken Ground and Beaver Meadow and hopefully at the high school over the next year. So I'm sure you'll have more decisions to make on that. But we made it through, and we'll see each day. I did reach out. I had communication not only through Parent Square. Our coaches also sent out a message. Our principals sent out messages, both Tim and Jay. I had conversation today with MUR this morning, with the Boston Globe, and early this evening with NBC. Obviously, as Pam reminded me this evening, that weather is a big news reporter, and so people always gravitate to it, and so I tried to keep that information as much as I could. But we had school today, and everyone survived, and we'll do the same thing tomorrow. So that's where we're standing. Just making sure I got everything. Talking about free and reduced hot lunch, if I could for a second, just reminding parents, we sent home the applications for free and reduced lunches. Please, please, please fill them out. It matters. I think I put that on it's about the revenues that the district received. Everything like from the title grants that we received from the feds to our state adequacy funds are part of that formula is our free and reduced. And so even if you're not sure, send it in. We'll see how it falls in terms of the guidelines, but I can't emphasize enough how important that is, because it does drive our revenues and the revenue sources. And by the way, these revenues are for programs for youngsters. It's for tutors in the building. It's for extra paras, speech and language. John could give you a list of all the special education folks that we fund using those funds, and those funds and monies that we are allocated allow us to do more for children. And frankly, that's what we're all about. So I'm encouraging parents to please fill out those forms. Transportation, I wanted to also, I've been out in the buildings, everybody in this office was out and about on the first couple of days, just kind of seeing how things went at each of the buildings. And in my visits I was at Beaver Meadow and Runlet. Wow, the traffic is incredible. And so my last comment tonight, is to try to encourage parents to put kids on the school bus. You know, we have the buses available. There's seats on the buses. It will help to alleviate the traffic. You know, when I was thinking about this comment tonight, I know we told parents to drive their kids during the pandemic. Do you remember that? We said that will help us. It will allow us to space the children better on the school buses. Well, it's time to put them back on the buses. They do great on the buses. They you know, we get kids to school. It's a little bit easier, especially in places like Runlet, where it's very you know, there's a lot of traffic there with both schools as well as Beaver Meadow. I mean, they're out on the main road at Beaver Meadow, and it really can be tie up traffic. So I'm going to encourage parents, you know, put them back on the bus. They'll be fine. So other than that, Mr. President, that's about all I have tonight.
Well, I will reiterate the request to parents for filling out the free and reduced lunch application. If you don't even think your child is going to have lunch or you're going to pack lunch, if you're not sure that you qualify, still fill it out. Of course, it's the programs, but I'm going to go to the other side of the school board's responsibility. It'll lower your taxes, because if we get money from other sources, that's not money that we have to take from our Concord community. And, you know, there are so many programs that depend on that I ask everyone to fill them out. They're not difficult to fill out. If you have a question, you can call in here and they will assist you as well. And then once again, I will reiterate what you just said about traffic. You know, put the kids in the buses, or if you're close, they can walk. We have great crossing guards. I see them every morning. They're always looking out for the kids. So if you're not that far away from school, you don't have to drive them in. You can walk. So, does anybody have other questions? Let's
Mr.
go.
Cotton's hand was up first.
Okay, Mr.
I was going to pretty much reiterate just what you said. I mean, about the free and reduced lunch program. Jack did a great presentation the other night for Finance Committee. It's very important, and actually he handed out the forms for us to take a look at. They're not that difficult, but they're a little intimidating, and with lots of instructions. So I would just encourage anybody who's watching that has a translation issue and or are a little intimidated by the forms to contact the school and get a little help with it, and it'll really make a difference. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cotton. Ms. Robinson.
Yeah, Concord also has an online application portal for free and reduced lunch. So if folks don't feel like filling it out and having their kid hand it back into their teacher, that's a more private way to be able to fill out the application. My question was, Superintendent, if you don't mind revisiting the mention about the weather that's coming up, would you be willing to just reiterate what our protocols are for potentially canceling school because of heat, or what other, I mean, if it gets to a certain temperature, we decide kiddos aren't going to be in the classroom. Just wondering if you could just clarify that.
Yeah, I don't have a temperature guideline. You know, does it get over a certain temperature? I mean, we have to really use student and staff and where they're at. I mean, we did monitor today the classroom temperatures. I mean, obviously they were in the 80s. I mean, it was 80 out, right? And so those classrooms that don't, those buildings that don't have the dehumidification. So, but you know, we monitor the temperature outside because that's the best, you know, the best judge of it. So if it becomes unbearable, and we've had temperatures higher than that, but if it becomes unbearable, I can call an early release. My problem with early release, and I have to be careful. We could keep the 3 schools in because their temperatures are fine, right? Abbott Downing, Krister, and Millbrook. But when you release youngsters in the middle of the day, you impact parents. And, you know, I always worry that the supervision, somebody at home. That's the one piece I worry about for the kids that are at like Beaver Meadow and Broken Ground. the older kids, 7th and 8th, and the high school, you can do that with. I feel a little bit better at, sending a message out. But 6th graders, too, is right on the line. So, that's where I have to make decisions based on those youngsters. And is there supervision? Is there someone there at home? And are they better off here than at home? And so I have to make that decision.
Thank you for the clarification. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah.
And thank you for that question. And Superintendent, I know you're really reluctant to have a snow day on the very first week of school and start our count up all that early, but I will personally just reiterate, and this goes to Mr. Cashman as well, to make sure that there is adequate water and hydration and drinking water for all of our students. That is probably the one key thing. Did you have good water? Do you have adequate water? I'm asking Sophia and Van.
Yes, I saw the water jugs all around school, and I saw people using them. I
Yeah.
think those were very
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
Very good. So I just, my word is to hydrate.
The other thing, Sarah, I didn't say it, but, I have to make up the days. So where do I make up the days? I make them up in June, and now all of a sudden the
1,000%.
temperature's 90 there.
Yeah.
So it is, I will say that no matter what the decision is, it's usually a no-win. There are potential days that we could use, like an election day, but I can't use that for everyone because the older kids often take care of younger kids on those kinds of days. So you're constantly trying to find the right solution and the balance that first priority has to be students.
Thank you.
Other questions for the superintendent? Go ahead, Mr. Weinberg.
So Sophia and Van, how did you manage today with the temperature and the weather?
I noticed, I noticed a lot of my teachers in the past, they didn't have fans. Well, they had fans, but I've noticed a lot of smaller AC units that were put into the higher levels of the building, especially in like the west building. That's really, the 5th floor in the west building is usually the worst. But I did notice lots of like box fans set up around the building. And I've been there. I remember I believe it was my freshman year, we actually had to cancel school once or twice because it was very warm. But I was those higher temperatures this time. I think we did a better job at keeping it nice and cool. And I know I saw a lot of kids dressing lightly, and we had those water bubblers around, which was very helpful. So I think it was manageable, but it definitely was hot.
Van, go ahead.
Yeah, and like Sophia was saying, it was like the water bubblers definitely helped a lot because lots of the water bubblers are closed from the lead. And another thing was teachers were having us go outside, like in the shade during class, so we were not in like the higher levels of the building where it gets really hot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the superintendent or our student representatives? Well, go ahead, Mr. Cohen.
I just wanted to hear Sophia's report.
I was just going to say, superintendent, if you're finished, then
I'm finished.
Sophia can give us a report.
All right, so hello everyone. I hope you're all doing well. It's good to see you again. I think all of CHS is very excited to get back to school, and I would say summer is almost over, but it doesn't quite feel like that yet. So the first 2 days of school, they went very well. I had one of my English teacher kind of called it a soft opening. So we kind of went over and we met our teachers, our classmates. We also had our class assemblies. So freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, they all had individual class assemblies ran by the administration. And we also got to meet our new principals, and I think it went very well. We also learned about the implication of our Crimson culture this year, and and for seniors at least, we got to learn about our senior privilege. We also got to learn that we're doing I think I mentioned WIN days quite a few times last year. It's our what our need days. I think a lot of students really found them beneficial, and we're doing them every 5-day week on a Friday this year. And so that's like a 45 period advisory instead of our 20-minute advisory. We also have some upcoming events in September. I think it's going to be quite packed for everybody. So our homecoming is September 30th. We have our parade, our football game, and our dance that night. We're also going to have a pep rally that Friday to walk in the seniors, the class of 2024. And I think that's pretty much it. I think it's going to be a great year. So thank you.
So Sophia, how'd the freshmen do? Were they
did
lost,
very
or
well.
did they
No,
get a?
I know that's actually one thing I forgot to talk about. The freshman orientation, they had that a couple in that summer. I'm not sure if you guys talked about it before I was here, but I think it went very well. I think they said there was 80% of participation, and I mean there were some freshmen that kind of, you know, they talk and ask where to go, but I think they did very well, and they also had printed schedules handed out before school. I think that definitely helped, because I remember when I first came in, it was that COVID year, and it was definitely scary going into that big building, but I think they did very well, and I think that freshman orientation was a huge help. I think that should definitely be continued throughout the years.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Sophia? Well, we look forward to seeing you, as well as Van, every month, and your participation as well.
You want to go now? Excuse me, but Mr. Dunn has an appointment, and would you mind if I move to the middle school project and to his report?
No, not at all. Do you want to do the finance report first, and then the
Jack, do you
middle
want to
school
go over
project
that,
after?
and then the middle school? Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Matt.
Well, I'm going to go to the
Whichever order works.
go to the
best for you.
website first. Sorry, let me just do duplicate. I know it takes me out of being able to search for it, but at least you can.
Yeah,
talk to that.
yeah, I just want to speak to that. You know, we've been working on a website to really provide information to the community and to all of our stakeholders around the Concord Middle School project. And so this has just gone live. We know that this is a work in progress, so please understand that. But we think this will provide some information about what's happening now. There's still all of the detail that's been going on since 2017. That's still available. But this site will address what we need to, what's happening now and what we anticipate. Tomorrow night, Brett St. Clair, who helped us with this, will be with the Capital Facilities meeting, and he will also share some of his thoughts on this on the website. But Jack, could we scroll a little bit just so they could see? So there's several options. If you look at FAQs, if you hit FAQs, it'll go to questions, and then why do we need a new middle school? I don't want to get into all the detail, but I just wanted to present it tonight so you could see that we're working on it. We know that that's really important. We got great feedback from the City and Community Relations Committee about how we need to step it up, right? So we've got this done. We're actually making cards with a QR so that they can go to this with this site, and we'll just you can pass those out, so anyway, but that can be developed. We know that that's going to be developed more. The question that comes up from our green space meeting, as well as that committee, as well as some of the questions we've heard, we tried to incorporate those questions into the FAQ, like the Y project. They've withdrawn, and the letter from Michelle is in there indicating their withdrawal. There was a letter that I got from her withdrawing from our partnership with the middle school project, not with the partnership, because we do a lot of things with the Y. They're a great partner. So it's that kind of thing that you'll be able to see. There are other, the location options, big topic, right? So we have the latest update on that from when Jack and Matt did the presentation to the board back on the 14th. Was it the 14th? So that information is there. You can go through that. Project background, just begin to talk about all of the things that happened kind of back a little bit, but not with it to the degree that's in the website we have also on the district website. So just again, issues that have come up that we're trying to respond to and giving our stakeholders more information. Public hearings, we've got to make sure those are correct. Will you go to those, Jack? Make sure we have the times correct. Whoops.
So that's linking to our district site.
Yeah, so that'll go to our district site. That's why it went to a calendar and you can click on it. I'm not sure that's easy for people to.
26
Yeah, 26 and 27.
27th, they
Yeah.
have a
It says
5:30 on the 27th.
Yeah, so we'll
you
get
can-
that changed, yeah. Anyway, so we'll be able to put up information about what's happening up on the site. And I think that pretty much, we did put, public hearings, and we also
Sorry,
put
go back
members
to
of the board up there so that you can be contacted with your numbers,
Yep.
with your phone numbers, and how people can reach you if they have comments. So that is up there too. I'm pretty sure we put the roster in. We did, so.
We did
Anyway.
not approve that photo.
Yeah, no,
I thought it
I
was
thought that.
excellent. photo.
Great photo.
I'm gonna go with you too. The photo was, but anyway, it is the
Very
public
real
hearing,
life.
so.
True.
But when we have the public hearings on the 26th and 27th, we'll have that taped. We'll be able to post that on this site. I think that will give people the information that they need. And of course, new questions will come up. They'll go up on the FAQ. So we'll see how we do.
This is great.
Yeah, it took a little
Yeah,
time, and I
good start.
appreciate your patience with us. Huh? It's we haven't posted it yet on our website. This was the first night, and tomorrow night, Brett and I and Jack and Matt will go over it again with the facilities committee, because there's a lot of pieces, and we want to get some input from you so we can expand it and broaden it. Okay.
Yeah, likely we'll just take this button and then it'll point to the site. We'll eliminate the other stuff.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you all very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jack, and you want to do your finance
Yeah, I'm
review?
just looking on that team. If you want to go to him and then come back, I'm just looking for the.
Just one thing, if I could.
Yes.
That meeting tomorrow night you mentioned is also for communications and policy. I think it's a joint meeting.
City and community
City and
relations.
community.
City and
City
community.
and community.
City and community, right. Yeah.
I will be there now.
Because then if there's some suggestions, we can, take suggestions from you, then we can take it and run with it. And, it's a long journey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Let me just find my page. 31, 39.
While Jack's doing that, I just want to mention that Jack and I will be presenting at the Chamber of Commerce. The state of city schools is the topic.
Yeah,
You're all
that's right.
more than invited to attend. Would love the support. It starts at 7:30, I believe, at the Holiday Inn. And we'll be talking about the middle school project and, what we've been doing with that, any new programs, things are happening in the district. I'll give them some facts and figures about enrollment and staffing and all that. We'll talk about our equity program on DEIJ and how that works. And so we'll do about a 20-minute, 30-minute, was it 40-minute, was it?
Yeah,
About
yeah,
40 minutes,
and then
a
15.
15-minute Q&A from the audience. So, just so you know, you're more than welcome. I hope if you can be there, that would be great to have you.
What is that? When was that date, please?
The 14th, next week, next Thursday, 7:30, Holiday Inn.
I do think the 8th is the deadline to register.
Good catch.
And Bridget checked today, and there still was seats available. Usually a very big crowd. Didn't you go last year?
Yeah, I'll be at this one.
Yeah, there was a.
At 7:45 though, not a minute sooner.
For me, everything's 7:30.
Yeah. You probably, as the featured speaker, you probably have to be there a little
Yeah,
bit
we'll be
sooner.
there. Jack and I will be there a little early.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is page 31 through 39. This is the report as of 8:31 at 8:55 in the morning. It just timestamps as I refresh the data directly from our financial system. Obviously, it's preliminary because there's only 2 months into this fiscal year. Our fiscal year is July 1 through June 30. So we have not, for all the staff that is a September 1 start, haven't even issued payroll checks yet. Our first payroll is next Friday, and you can look in here when you look at the encumbrance column. There isn't that much encumbrance. It looks like there's a lot available. Well, that's because the contracts are not encumbered yet. That's what the HR and payroll staff are working on this week. Because our first payroll is next week, so that's why you don't see. That's why you see a lot showing quote available. But it's too early right now as it relates to salaries to see anything. Same with benefits. We encumber health insurance. You know, all that is showing. Majority of that money is still showing available. And if I get into the professional services, which is where our contracts are for any professional contracts that we need to bring in as it relates to buildings or in special ed. And then we get into the 6400s, our property as it relates to maintenance and utilities and rental of equipment. And nothing really that's jumping out there. There's some things that are negative that may either need to be reclassed or we're truly running over, which I will tell you disposal services are, that went up significantly from the city. And that's their contract through Best Way. So I'll probably be talking about that at the Finance Committee meeting as we talk about the additional revenue that will be coming in or year-end balance. We may need to take care of that. Okay. If I go down further, 65, 66. I don't think there's anything that's sitting out. The one thing I will tell you under 67,000 equipment, where new vehicles, we need to purchase a bus. The Finance, committee may have heard about that. We've already purchased one bus that required for student transportation because it had to have an air conditioner in it. Okay, it is a special bus. So we had the opportunity to get one and we grabbed it. And there may be more of that coming. We're putting that together and we'll discuss that with you. So that is at negative 110,000 because that's how much the bus was. Other than that, revenue I couldn't even get to. It's so early on that. There's just a majority of our money comes from property taxes, state taxes, and adequacy. And you'll see some of those columns where you see year-to-date actual, because that is money that's actually come in and has been booked as receivable. So you'll see some of the property taxes that relates to the state, some of the local rate, some Medicaid, and I do not see any adequacy in here yet, although that first payment came on the 1st, so this was produced on the 31st. Because we get 20% on the 1st, and then I think November another 20%. Comes in throughout the year. This is payment schedule. But nothing to get too excited about at the moment. Any questions, Scott?
The bus that we purchased, what is the capacity for students on that?
16.
Jack, I have a question with regards to when we passed this budget, it was March, with regards to utilities and specifically, natural gas in our heating. Do you see any significant changes from what we estimated, or are we locked in, or what can we expect?
Well, I just locked in for 11 months. What's great about it is when you get the refresh, you have by 2:30 that day to make the decision. If not, you got to wait the next day and get another refresh. When I first started, you would get the bid and you mail it in, you had 30 days. Now it's that day by 2:30. So I locked in, and our gas rate when I did it was in December of 20, and it was the pandemic. And that was at a time when natural gas was pretty low.
Yep.
We were at $5.43 per $5.43 per the number. The names escaped me at the moment. We're gonna go up to 9.84. So it's gonna less than double, but that's natural gas right now. It's not in our favor. A lot of that is due to what is being shipped overseas, being liquefied and sent over.
And the impact on our current budget with regards to that, will we have to make some adjustments or?
We'll need to make some adjustments.
Okay, and we look forward to hearing from you.
You got it.
Other questions, Mr. Croto?
Was there a question?
Sorry.
Yeah, I just had a quick one regarding in our purchase services for voice communications, cell phones, and data communications.
Yep.
Could you explain that a little bit for me, why we are so far in the red on those things?
So I'm going through that with Caroline tomorrow. So we have a single vendor for all our phones, and then we have a vendor for our landlines, and we have a vendor for our internet. I know we've had to make some adjustments to lines because of the reliability of the cellular, and the move to 5G is one. And two, we have moved everything from Verizon to AT&T, but also post-pandemic, do we need all those phones? And hotspots. I know we have at least 4 hotspots, one of which you may have used, one or two you may have used up at the thing. But AT&T, we've gotten some feedback about that, so we'll see.
Okay, thank you
But
very
yeah,
much.
we'll
I appreciate
adjust
it.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Robinson. Mr. Croto?
So Jack, I know that you mentioned that disposal services were an increase in price by the city, but we're on pace to be over $38,000 if this continues at this pace, right? I mean,
Well,
we're at, say, $7,000 over 2 months.
yeah. Well, it's 7 months right now because, let me just look at the disposal. Sorry.
Oh, is it a different contract?
No,
cycle?
we encumber everything up front for the year, and we go in knowing, we start the year beginning with what we've known. So the last couple of years it had stayed static. We got a notice at the end of June that the price was going up. So we have it encumbered. The other thing that goes under disposal services is shredding. So when we shred at the end of the year, that also goes in there, and there's been an increase in that as well. But
So what's
what's
the outcome pace at this pace?
So it's not 7,000 for 2 months. It's
Okay.
just that's what it's been based on what we've encumbered plus the overage. So if I had to guess right now, probably be about 15
Okay,
total for the year.
Thank you, Mr. Croto.
thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Ms. Walsh, and then Ms.
Ms.
Hastings.
Hastings, go first, because I have a question that's not on the.
Okay. I'm looking at unaffiliated staff base wages. What is that?
That's where the raise is set.
That's like tech staff?
It's at all unaffiliated.
Okay.
Anybody not part of a collective bargaining agreement.
And about, do you know roughly how many?
How many
Well, that
staff
is-
there are?
yeah.
I don't know how many there are offhand. But that would be all of us as administrators, permanent subs, and yeah, anybody not part of it.
And
Go ahead.
we are we, am I reading this incorrectly? Are we in the red on that already? That's page 32.
That doesn't seem right.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that to see if we have somebody encumbered that should not be, a staff member.
Makes sense.
And you'll get back to us on
Yep.
that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hastings. Ms. Walsh?
Mr.
Doesn't
Dunn,
make sense.
the finance committee had voted to make a recommendation to the board on school lunch debt. It is not on our agenda. Do we need a vote on that tonight, or can that wait until October?
That can wait till October, because I think you had some questions about what made up that debt.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I will definitely need it in order for you to clarify the budget for when we close it out.
So I was gonna put that on the October
Okay.
agenda for you, for your consideration, given that we needed to get the numbers and,
You're gonna get some more detail. for
yeah,
us, isn't it?
yeah, and we just didn't get it done from,
For the rest of the board, there's about $61,000 in school student debt for lunch and breakfast. We asked some additional questions about what meals it was, what grades. and also had a conversation at finance about needing more personal outreach as opposed to just letters, but, having conversations with school counselors and social workers to encourage families who might need it to apply for free and reduced lunch.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you, and we look forward to seeing that on the agenda in October. Excellent. Any other questions with regards to the financials? Not seeing any. Thank you, Mr. Dunn, for your report. And you are excused. You can.
Thanks.
Thank you for waiting and going through that. At this point, we will go back to item number 6, facilities update. Mr. Cashman, I will tell you that the parents that have spoken to me thought the schools looked great on the first day when they were there, so please pass that feedback back to your staff.
I will.
At each of the schools.
I definitely will.
And with that, we can go to facilities update.
All right. I'm excited to come right off of that, Jim. We had a really productive summer, 8 weeks. If you remember back to when we did the budget back in February and March, we looked at about $350,000 to allocate throughout a bunch of summer projects throughout the district. We started, once that was approved, we went out to bid on all of the work, and we started our planning as early as April all the way through June to get the work booked for that 8-week segment. Something I'm really excited about, and I know everyone's going to get a chance when we do our holiday meal, but we did 3 big jobs at CRTC. We did the dining room, we did the business classroom, we put a ticker tape, nice stock exchange type style business digital board. We did a CRT conference room, and I worked directly with Ann Fowler all the way through, so it's a very collaborative effort. You remember when we had I think it was early July, we had that big flash flood. Right before that, the week before, we did the major CMS drainage repair, and nothing good ever comes out of a flash flood, but our work proved itself. It went well, and it's still holding extremely well. District-wide, every year we do a painting throughout the district. This year we tracked exactly how many gallons. We used 620 gallons of paint to paint walls, ceilings, and floors. We did science room floors at Runlet Middle School. It was a big improvement. Speaking of painting, a different contractor, but we painted all the CHS parking lot, including we put numbers all over there. So it looks pretty sharp and people know where they should be parking. I worked collaboratively with John Fabrizio. We did another inclusion room very similar to what we did last year at Runlet Middle School in room 503. We also worked together with John and with Katie Mackey on a accessible swing over at Broken Ground. It's installed. We have a rubberized platform that's just drying, so by next week it will all be smoothed in and we'll be able to make use of that. We also had a big window wall replacement that happened several weeks ago. It was right above the CRTC section. Pretty extensive, but that went really well, and we're finishing that up now. Of course, we'll be talking about it tomorrow, but our whole summer was filled with lead testing, retesting, replacing faucets and fixtures. So we'll do a good overview of that tomorrow at the Capital Facilities Committee meeting. Coming up this fall, we have Beaver Meadow and the high school. We're going to be installing freezers for the kitchen area. And I did want to just give some shout outs for the custodians, the maintenance folks. Within our maintenance folks, we hired a master plumber, Dan LeBrun, and not only his work and the rest of the folks to test all the faucets for lead, but he also, being a master plumber, installed shutoffs to the high school, water shutoffs for the high school and Beaver Meadow, something that was never installed with the original design. But time after time, whenever we have a repair or a leak or something, having these shutoffs makes everything much more efficient and minimizes any potential damage. So just wanted to kind of give a shout out to all those folks.
Very good, and please pass on our thanks for all the
I definitely will.
hard work and the efforts this summer, and 600 gallons of what I know is low VOC paint.
Of
right?
course, 620 gallons.
620 gallons of, there's no volatile organic carbons, everybody's breathing well in the schools, and we're in good shape.
They are.
Other questions for Mr. Cashman? Go ahead.
Did
Okay.
you get everything done you wanted to get done?
I'm going to come to you next March and look for more money because there's so much more we'd like to do.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about the big projects we have going on next summer with Beaver Meadow and Broken Ground, a complete mechanical conversion to dehumidified air. And ultimately, I'd really like to get this middle school going, as well as I'd like to get the HVAC at the high school going as well.
See you in March. I mean, I'll see you before
Absolutely.
that.
Thank you, Ms. Meeker. Does anyone else have? Go ahead, Mr. Weinberg.
And I'm trying to recall if the accessible playground was installed this past summer or if that is for next summer.
No, we're going to have use of it for the remainder of the summer, if you can call it that, and the fall, and then
Awesome.
open it up in
And
the spring.
that is located at which school again?
It's at Broken Ground,
Broken Ground.
right before you, right after the basketball courts and right before you get to the playground.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Fabrizio.
I'd just like to speak to the accessible wheelchair swing that we are putting in. It's a really nice piece of equipment. You'll recall aboard I was doing kind of my show on the road with our special ed parent nights out and about, and this was one that came out through one of those conversations with parents about a mother with a child in a wheelchair who said it's really hard to get out there and for him to have things to do on the playground. And Matt and I got together and we had some grant funding that was through ARA that we had, and we were able to utilize that funding to really kind of make a neat atmosphere over there. It's accessible to not only the one child but the community, to have a place to go and where they can wheel right up on the pavement, right onto the swing, where they have a partner that has a bench and they have their wheelchair can be to their end and they're able to swing and do that. So we'll be doing something in the near future to do a little celebration and a little kickoff to it, and inviting that family that brought it to us, and hopefully invite the board if you want to come and see it in action.
And hopefully we'll see it at our other schools.
Yeah, we'd like to see that. I would say, and I was going to say exactly the same thing. I encourage you to continue that. Former board member Mr. Crush was always made us very aware of the need of all of our students to have an accessible play area in the elementary schools, and I'm sure he's happy, but I know I'm happy that we are continuing that work, and I encourage you to look for other opportunities like that, just as Ms. Walsh had indicated. So we look forward to visiting all of the schools. So, very good. Any other questions? All right. Well, in that case, thank you, Mr. Cashman.
My pleasure.
We have reached the point of our meeting where we have a public comment session. This is a public comment on any topic. We do ask that you come and sign in and speak into the microphone for anyone who would like to make a public comment. We have a limit of 5 minutes, but we do want to hear what everyone has to say. So, do we have any public comment this evening? Please.
Ellen Kenny from the Broken Ground School and resident here of Concord. And before I start my comments, I just want to say to Matt that our school on this really hot day was never more comfortable. It felt good in just about all parts of the building, so thank you.
Great.
Okay. And again, before I start, I'm always just amazed by the complexity and the commitment of school board members. And I think there's just a lot of us that don't know what you do. And it is a huge job and a huge public commitment. So Thank you. I just wanted to briefly recap, for the record, a bit about the meeting that took place on August 14th at the Heights Community Center regarding the middle school project. The meeting was attended by several school board members and the superintendent, and again, thank you. Stakeholders from both sides of the river here in Concord, and moderated by Green Space Concord, who began with what I thought was a balanced appraisal of the pros and cons of each of the proposed sites, the broken ground site and the current site. A robust discussion followed, and I think that those of you who were there would agree that the prominent tone was one of concern about an opposition to the East Concord site. 4 main areas of concern came up. The first was safety for walkers, with a lot of people pointing out the poor existing infrastructure for traffic and walkers and bikers already on Loudon Road and East Side Drive. It was brought up that East Side Drive has poorly maintained sidewalks. I guess that road is maintained not by the city, but by the state. And also the concern about the 393 bridge overpass being a special area of potential trouble for kids walking to school from the Heights neighborhoods. The second concern was traffic. People from the Heights community were especially concerned about the impact of another set of buses, traffic from buses and cars during the twilight and rush hours when kids are staying for sports and extracurriculars. The third concern was the importance of proximity between middle and high school that would be lost by moving from the current location. And finally, the one that's closest to my heart, the habitat destruction involved in tearing down long-established forested land when we already have a site prepared for a school. Back to weather again for a minute. We've just come through a summer of catastrophic weather all over the globe. And I think what we need to learn from this is that every decision we make as a community in terms of our infrastructure and land use is critical to our quality of life now, and even more importantly, for future generations. And I know how hard this decision is for everybody, and that's my editorial comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kane, for coming in and talking to us tonight. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment? Not seeing any, we will provide one more opportunity at the end of the meeting. At this point, we'll go on to item 10, personnel.
You take this.
And if we can pass the microphone down to Ms. Garrett.
Thank you. I can refer to page 40. We have some new teacher confirmations. The English position at the high school, a language arts teacher at the middle school, and a new automotive teacher in the CRTC.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the recommendation for the new teachers?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Walsh. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Robinson. Is there any discussion?
I got to meet a few of these teachers at, or one or two at the new teacher orientation, and they seem very dynamic and exciting.
Outstanding. All right. Anyone else? Okay, with that, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The recommended new teachers are approved. Please proceed.
Existing teacher confirmations on page 41. We have the new business math teacher at Concord High School. And then we have a new grant-funded one-year-only position at Beaver Meadow for a reading teacher.
Very
So
good.
these are existing teachers who will be staying with the district in different positions.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the recommendation for these two teachers?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Croto. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Weinberg. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The recommendation is approved.
And lastly, on page 42, we have fall coach nominations, freshman volleyball co-coaches, and then we have girls volleyball B coach.
Very good. Do I have a recommendation for approval of the 3 volleyball coaches?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Hastings. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Walsh. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The recommendation passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me go back to my agenda. Subcommittee, do we have a report from the Sustainability Committee?
No, but is there any updates on the electric bus front or solar panel front?
Not at the moment.
Okay. With that, in that case, then let's move on to the Equity Advisory Committee. Do we have any updates from our Equity Advisory Committee?
We have no update at
Okay.
this time.
So, subcommittees was quick. Let's move on to other business. Superintendent, our monthly enrollment.
That's important. But you know, when you look at the enrollment, this is the end of August, so you know, the reliability, we still have students coming in after the long weekend. Some people just believe that school starts after Labor Day, and that's the end of it. So today we had, Bridget was really busy hearing from different folks. So the numbers are a little soft, but you can see that we're pretty much maintaining the numbers. I looked in to see if there were any grade levels that might be problematic, but all of them are well within your range of class sizes. So there wasn't anything that I was concerned about. The one place that we did add a position was at Krista McAuliffe. We jumped from 45 kindergarten youngsters last year to 67. So, and I don't know if anyone else has come yet, so I'll check with Chris. But you know, that's a good jump, 20 plus kids. So we added another class. We used money that you have allocated under the superintendent's contingency. So that's how we covered that position.
Questions? Go ahead, Ms. Walsh.
I'm just looking at the 4th grade at Beaver Meadow, which is within our limits, but it's a lot higher than the other 4th grades, or it's higher than all the other 4th grades. And you know, as we were looking at test scores, our 3rd, 4th, 5th graders are struggling the most with catch up. I'm wondering if we're putting an aide in these classrooms to provide some additional support.
I haven't at this time.
Okay.
Have not. I'll speak with the principal and see where she's at with the students and see what their needs are. But we certainly have, as you know, you elected a reading teacher, and we have some special education teachers as well as tutors over at Beaver Meadow. So before I jump in and put a position in, I'd like to at least assess where she feels the youngsters are.
Thank you.
But you're right, that grade level, 4th grade has been all the way up. That they had that learning gap, and so we've been trying to focus on that.
And historically high, I believe. That group of 4th graders, they were high in 3rd grade. We've been worried. We've been watching them for a few years, it seems like.
You mean in terms of numbers,
In
or
terms
their
of numbers.
or for us it was obviously their academic achievement. The rest of them are pretty good. Numbers at the high school, pretty much 1477 right now. And if you look at last July when we did this, the last time we really took a look at numbers, you'll see that In July, they were 1425. So we picked up some students at the high school. Runlet still has maintained itself flat. You know, they actually lost 15, 16 students, so 8 and 8, 16. So we continue to watch that. I know that Mr. Richard has reached out to some families, so he's been doing some of that work to talk with families to find out why they might homeschool or what services they might need, and I really appreciate that. He and I met with a family and then he met with the student, and they're returning. So we're working on that. We're not going to just let everybody go. It's too important.
Go ahead, Mr. Cohen.
Just a question on the preschool numbers.
This is yours.
The drop at Beaver Meadow, from 82 to 51, is that because of a shift of the people to Abbott Downing? That's what's going on there?
I'm just trying to, I'm sorry, Ms. Cotton, could you just repeat
I'm
that?
looking at the preschool numbers on page
Yeah.
44, and I'm just noticing the drop from 82 to 51 at Beaver Meadow, but increased to 22 at Abbott Downing. Is that just a shift of kids that used to go to Beaver Meadow?
It's a shift in our fours become fives, and it's kind of what you're looking at. It's a shift out of where we are too. It's the rollover too. Is part of that too. We roll over our kids, in July and end of the year and into that, and that's where we are right now. Those are our incoming threes, and then our fours become fives. Is what you're looking at right there.
Can you explain that jargon?
Sure. A little more. So as kids turn 3 years old, they come to school. Mm-hmm. So it could be on September 1st. It could be on May 2nd. It doesn't matter. They come when they turn 3. They start. So that's a continually rolling enrollment for preschool, and it constantly happens through that. And then as they're there 3s and 4s, and then 5th grade, of course, goes to kindergarten. So we have continual rolling enrollment happening in that. In our program.
Good question. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions with regards to enrollment?
Just a quick clarification. Mr. Fabrizio, are you saying that if a 5-year-old turns 5 in November, he goes into kindergarten?
Nope. Just the 3-year-olds.
Okay.
Just 3-year-olds roll in.
Okay.
And then what you're seeing in July, that was, July was before we rolled them over, those numbers you're seeing at. And then now those become kindergartners. So on that second sheet on page 44 is what you're saying. So those are actually, what you're looking in September, are actually 3 and 4-year-olds in our program currently now. But that number will increase all year because we'll add 3s to it.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
I apologize, I was a little slow on the draw there.
Because the 5-year-olds are now at September in kindergarten. Correct?
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions? All right, Superintendent, proposed calendar of meetings.
Well, I think I would say, like Van and Sophia, you have a very busy month. So if you look at your September calendar, you'll see tomorrow night, Capitol Facilities. I remind you, and you brought it up, Jim, the candidate information night. I did put out a little message on Parent Square also last night so that we could remind people about it. And filing for school board positions opens on the 8th. So it's 3 school board members as well as the treasurer, because when Tom removed himself as treasurer and resigned, that was a resignation, so that position will open also. Following week is Finance Committee. I also want to alert you to the minimum standard presentation at the high school. I think that's worth attending. It starts at 6 o'clock in the auditorium. We'll be looking at minimum standards. As you know, there's been a significant effort by the Department of Ed to change up the minimum standards relative to expectations in our public schools. So I think it's important that you hear the message and ask those questions of Mr. Bramante and his team. I know that I will be there and my colleagues will be there. We're sharing this event with Merrimack Valley. We're collaborating together. Back to school nights start too. The high school on the 13th, communication and policy on the 14th. Following week, executive committee as well as instructional committee will follow. Trying to work around everybody's schedule too. And then the filing for positions closes on the 18th. So just be aware of that. If you have any constituents that ask you, is that, when does it close? That information is there.
Could you just mention where they go to file?
Oh, that's a good point. Thank you. Actually, come right here. Although Patrick Taylor, your attorney, your school clerk, oversees it, he works very closely with Bridget. So anybody interested in the position would filing to be a candidate would come here to the office, meet with Bridget. She has all the paperwork and all the stamps and everything else, and then she works very closely with Attorney Taylor to make sure everything is in place.
There is a
for the ballot.
$5 filing fee.
There is a $5 filing
that
fee.
you need to bring.
Yes.
And you do not have to come to our candidate information night to be able to actually file or
That's
run,
right.
although I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Yes, I think it will be very informative. So please, that's pretty much the election piece for you. The 19th is the forum, the hearing that will be at the high school again, and that's a kind of a joint hearing with the city around Memorial Field. And that starts at 5:30. Some of these meetings, everybody's starting, it gets a little confusing, but 5:30 to 7:30, and that night is to just present what's done so far, what's happened at the field, what was done by the engineers, and then receive feedback from the community. It's an opportunity for the community to share with the city as well as the schools what they would like to see there. So they'll have a chance to do that. By the way, there will be another hearing. This isn't the last one. They'll do a little bit more work. We'll have a little bit more data to share, and we'll have another hearing before the city, and you will be presented with information and recommendations to consider. Okay. Back to school nights on the 21st, there's several of them, so if you're doing it, you're doing a road tour that night because you'll be visiting 4 of the schools, so always a fun night. The 24th is a Sunday 11 to 4 at Keach Park, a multicultural event. We'll have a table. I believe that Jonathan has us registered, so we'll have a table. We're going to be next to the city. I was there last year, and many of you were there. Lots of folks stopped by, lots of questions. We'll have strategic plan and the trifold on information, and we'll have some information on the project because those are the questions that come up. So we'll be doing that together. 2 public forums at 6 o'clock according to this calendar.
But
Just
one
saying.
says one on the 26th says it's at Runlet Middle School and it's at Millbrook.
Yeah, well, we were back and forth on that one, so finally Bridget and I just said, well, let's see what the board wants to do, but we are doing it at Millbrook. Yep, okay. And the second one will be a Zoom meeting. And we'll make sure that link gets out again so people have access to it. October, not quite so busy, but I have a suspicion that will fill up very quickly, knowing how hard you've been working. The 6th is a professional development day. It's also the same day that the NEA does their state conference, so some of our teachers go to that, and other teachers stay here at home, and we provide workshops. Indigenous Peoples' Day is on the 9th, so there will be no school on that day. And again, your committee meetings for the rest of the month: instructional on the 16th, finance on the 18th, executive committee and the city and community relations on the 23rd, communication and policy on the 25th, and on the 30th we have you scheduled for a special board meeting. You have to put your final touches on the budget given the additional monies from the state and deciding how you're going to handle all of that. So that's an important meeting, and we need to have
7.
seven. I was looking for Jack to make sure I had that number right. 7 of you need to be present and voting.
Jim, could you, I know I'm not gonna be here on the 30th, could you kind of ask?
Can I poll around and make sure we have 7? I
Yeah.
will, thank you. But I won't do it right now, so you folks don't have to worry about it. Very good.
So that's your 2 months in a nutshell. So, like I said, you have lots on your plate, but really important things happening.
Thank you, Superintendent. What happened on the 25th of September? You didn't book us for that night. It's like the one night in September that you
Yeah.
didn't book us up for that
We
night.
actually do
Well,
have.
But we have something.
Schedule something.
There'll be something in there.
The
Yeah,
25th.
we haven't finished our,
Oh, we do. We'll fill in the 25th because we need to fill in a non-public
I
meeting. of
think
the
we
board.
weren't using the 25th because it's Yom Kippur.
Oh, is that?
Yeah,
No, we can't do it on the
Okay.
25th.
Okay.
So I will reach out
Whatever.
to. Thank you. I will reach out to the board with regards to when we need to schedule another meeting.
You know, we when we're doing these calendars, and you're doing it. By the way, the executive committee does this.
Yes.
And you know, we try to be sensitive to the number of meetings that you have and the places you're expected to be at. So we have been trying to be careful.
No, Superintendent, we do this to ourselves.
I know that. I'm just trying to be sensitive to
We
that.
book ourselves up.
Yeah.
And for anyone thinking about running for school board, it's not like this every month. So.
No, it isn't.
Very,
Almost.
very good.
Really?
You can come and chat to all the folks on Thursday. All right. At this point, if there's someone that didn't get an opportunity to speak, we will, we can have additional public comment. If not seeing anyone. Superintendent, do we have a non-public session, I believe, today?
Under 91A3, Section 2D.
Section 2D?
Yes.
Uh,
Consideration of sale, lease of real personal property.
Okay, so do I have a motion to go into non-public session?
May I just make a comment before we do that?
Of course you can, Mr. Croto, go right ahead.
Thank you. So, on pages 19 to 23 in our board booklet are some of the most clear, concise pieces of information about the pros and cons and the thoughts about where to put the school for the middle school. So I just wanted to reiterate for the public that you can access that meeting itself. It was the special board work session of August 14th. If you access that meeting, you'll hear it all. You can YouTube it according to Josh and replay parts of it. But here in writing, so on our webpage, I know we can get it. It just makes sense the way it's written there, and it would be good information for the public. So thank you.
No, thank you, Mr. Croto. I agree with you. And
You
in
have a
that
motion.
in that case, I need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Walsh to go into non-public. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Cotton. This will be a roll call vote, if you would, Ms. Hastings.
Mr. Richards.
Yes.
Ms. Welsh.
Yes.
Mr. Weinberg.
Aye.
Mr. Cotton.
Yes.
Ms. Robinson.
Yes.
Ms. Meeker.
Yes.
Mr. Croto.
Yes.
And I will vote aye.
So we will go into non-public after a brief recess of 5 minutes. We will not anticipate doing any other business after that non-public session other than the adjournment. So we will let our television, assistants go home. And thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.